The member for Paterson.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. It's really with a heavy heart that I deliver this condolence motion for Jack Fitzgibbon. Jack is the son of Joel Fitzgibbon, who was the person that brought me to politics, and I will be forever indebted to Joel for that. But my association with the Fitzgibbon family goes back a long way further than that. My uncle Owen Partridge was a stalwart in the Cessnock Labor Party. He was a branch member for many, many years, and I'm sure he was a pain in Joel's behind on many occasions as well, being a staunch lefty. But indeed, Uncle Owen recruited me at the tender age of 12, 13 to hand out for Eric Fitzgibbon to become the member for Hunter. And I can still remember handing out for Eric. We had posters of Eric in the garden and posters of Bob Hawke in the hallway of the house. And it was from that time that my association with the Fitzgibbon family really came about. And the next major milestone for me with the Fitzgibbons was I was on my honeymoon and I got a phone call from Joel and said, "You've been working with my brother Mark through the Hunter Region Organisation of Councils, and he rates you, and so I want you to come and work for me. I've just been elected." And I said, "Well, thanks very much, but I'm on my honeymoon. I'll ring you in a few weeks." And I came to work for Joel in 1996 at the tender age of 25, when he replaced his father Eric as the member for Hunter. And I remember working from the electorate office in Cessnock. I also travelled here to Canberra with him. But in that office, I met Diane, his wife, and their 3 young children. And I can still remember those kids coming to the office. And Jack was just a full of energy, fantastic little boy. And Caitlin, his older sister, was always there sort of trying to pull him into line, and Gracie, she just tagged along as the third. And I remember thinking to myself, how are they going to do it? You know, young kids, it was so difficult, but they did do it, and they did it well. And so then, you know, my relationship with this family just grew over the years until the next major milestone in my life was when Joel phoned me again and said, "Mate, I want you to run for the seat of Paterson. You probably won't win, but I know you'll give it your best." And so I did, and I then became the member for Paterson. And in this condolence motion for Jack, what I'm really trying, I suppose, to display is that the things I say about the Fitzgibbon family don't just come from working with Joel or, you know, perhaps something I've read in a paper. I've known them, you know, for over 40 years and worked with them, and I feel as though, whilst they're not my blood relatives, they're as close as I could get. And so when I, you know, go to their home and spend time with them, I always feel so welcome. So it's just indescribable to tell you the pain that I felt going to Joel and Di's place the Monday after we lost Jack, and seeing their faces, seeing that torture, that pain on a parent's face when they lose a child. It's indescribable, and of course it just goes against everything that we know to bury a child. So I just can't begin to express my heartfelt grief and condolence for that family, who in their own way have served our nation so well, whether it be here in Parliament, battling it out, or, like Jack, putting on the uniform. And there is no greater service to your country than potentially laying down your life. And although Jack was a commando, it still came as such a shock, and people talk about the risk of service. It is, of course it comes with risk. Of course, you know, jumping out of an aeroplane comes with risk. But you never actually think that anything terrible is going to happen. And when it does, it is just still so shocking. I also went to visit at Holsworthy the commandos, the Special Forces of the 2nd Commando Regiment, and let me tell you, they are outstanding, stellar human beings. The men and women that pull on that uniform, just like Jack did, to serve us all, to keep us safe, are special human beings. And then I had that out-of-body experience of being in St Joseph's at Cessnock for Jack's funeral, and I was sat behind a wall of khaki, these enormous men standing in front of me, and each of them, the look of pain and horror on their face. It was just an incredible moment in my life that I'll never forget. But each of them there, bravely listening to the stories of Jack and knowing that the next day they'll go back to work and they'll take off their ceremonial uniform and they'll pull back on the car keys and they'll go to work for each one of us again. And that's what Jack did. And he wasn't really like his dad or his grandfather in that he wasn't an out-there public person. He loved a beer, like his dad and his grandfather, and he loved to joke and he loved to dance. And he was a really funny, good guy. But he wasn't a public person like his grandfather and father. He was a far more private person, and he didn't want to be promoted. He just wanted to do his job, and he did that every day in that uniform. And I know that Joel and Diane, his parents, were incredibly proud of him. And Anne, his grandmother, I thought about her a lot during this time as well, because I know she always had a special soft spot. I know grandparents can't have favourites, but I know Anne always had a special soft spot for Jack. And so I've thought a lot about that. And as the member for Greenway pointed out, that family have contributed so much to Australian politics and Australian life, and given more than any family should have to give in the life of their son. But I want to thank them for that, and I want them to know that Jack's memory and his contribution will never be forgotten, and I suspect that the people that work with him will be forever compelled to give of their best, as Jack did, and will be forever indebted to his memory, as we all are. And so, on behalf of the people of Paterson, on behalf of the broader Hunter community, on behalf of our Labor family, I commend Jack's memory to the history books and to Hansard, and I hope that he finds eternal peace, and I hope that his family finds some peace in these words too. Thank you.